Early college funding, got to say it was shaky at first. Many of the most successful early colleges were established by philanthropy. John Harvard donated money for the establishment of Yale. I lied about that, for Harvard, reading ahead of myself. Elihu Yale donated money for the support for the organization of that institution. Matthew Vassar, and I guess you can intuit which college he helped found, was a brewer, a guy who made beer, who donated money for the establishment of a female college in 1861. Sophia Smith was an elderly spinster who provided in her will for Smith College. Johns Hopkins, we've heard of, was founded by Johns Hopkins. Actually, it wasn't founded by him, but it was made possible by his will. Pauline and Henry Durant left their money for the establishment of Wellesley College. John D. Rockefeller was the moving force behind the creation of the University of Chicago. Leland Stanford Jr. Now, it was Leland Stanford and his wife who did this, and they did it in honor of Leland Stanford Jr., who had died at the age of 16. And so, to remember him, they donated money for the establishment of the college, which was called Leland Stanford Jr., although we don't use the junior much anymore, except in Buddy songs, if you know any of those. William Marsh Rice here in Texas was the gentleman who left the money to found Rice universities. Moving on, the smaller donors whose names are generally forgotten, still philanthropy, still donating money. People who go out and earn money for the college. Bequests, this is, I guess we could lump this in with philanthropy as well. Folks who leave money to the institution in their wills. I don't know if you're getting them, but I am, from Buffalo, Syracuse, and Wisconsin, asking me to name them for a piece of my will. So you will start getting these as you go up in age, shall we say. Sale of scholarships, just like as in the academies. A little donation to the university, we'll see your kid gets in and gets a scholarship. Lotteries, long tradition of lotteries. Many of the early institutions were supported heavily by their states until the Dartmouth College case. And I don't remember if we've talked about this. If not, I will remind you of it. If not, I'll bring it up for the first time. Dartmouth was a separate independent college. New Hampshire tried to take it over and make it a state institution. Dartmouth hired Noah Webster to be their lawyer, Daniel Webster to be their lawyer, and they won before the Supreme Court. States were warned that they could not make attempts to take over colleges, and at that point in time, state support to private institutions dried up to nearly nothing. Funding comes from alumni. You are constantly, I'm sure, getting requests from your undergraduate institution to give you money. Wait till you graduate from this one. They will be asking for money as well. A long tradition of underpaid faculty, again, made made important, made necessary by flirtation with bankruptcy. How can we get more money? By paying the faculty lower than we probably ought to. Top-down reform. Let's talk about fixing up these colleges and universities. We need to teach things besides Latin, Greek, and mathematics. That's a pretty narrow, stifling curriculum in light of what the world is becoming. We're going to talk about 4 gentlemen, 3 of them clergymen and college presidents. Philip Lindsley is the first, George Ticknor, James Marsh, and Jacob Abbott. Lindsley is the eldest of the 4. He is a Princeton graduate. He becomes president way out in the boonies now of the University of Nashville. He rejects the idea of denominationalism. That's a tough one. Does not want to be controlled by any particular religious entity. He is probably the first one we're going to talk about. He is an advocate of German education, and we were going to watch out for these guys in the future. They are going to come in and try and impose the German research university model on American schools. Way out there in the boonies, Lindsley sought to educate the farmer, the mechanic, the manufacturer, the merchant, the sailor, the soldier, etc., etc. Because of the lofty ambitions and the intellectualism that flourished there, that particular university, University of Nashville, was known as the Athens of the South. George Ticknor is a Dartmouth graduate. He's the only non-president and non-clergyman of the 4. He's one of the first 2 people to study in Germany. And we'll talk about that, I believe, next particular lecture. Thus, he is another German model proponent. But he is unsuccessful in his attempts to convert Harvard. Goes to Germany, studies, comes back, has a job at Harvard, tries to convert Harvard to the German research model, and fails because the rest of the faculty does not particularly care for that model. James Marsh is another Dartmouth man. He becomes president of the University of Vermont. While there, he proposes that studies, he's saying subjects, be divided into 4 departments, and that non-degree students be allowed to study if they wished from one department only. So if you're there, you're not searching for a degree, we should allow you to study anything that you want. Free electives, if you will. He proposed the elimination of classes. Let's not have anything called freshman, sophomore, and junior, senior. He wants students, subjects, and standards. I'm a freewheeling kind of guy. He said, let us abandon the stultifying adherence to textbooks and recitations. Let us turn the classroom into an arena of wide-ranging discussion and inquiry. Boy, and we probably would even like that again today. Jacob Abbott was a graduate of Bowdoin. I believe that was in Maine. He is best known as the author of the Rollo books. This is a series of didactic children's books. He became president of Amherst College. In 1826, he argued for the substitution of French and German for Greek and Latin. Now, this is mild compared to what those other guys were asking for. But none of this took. We have 4 people emerging during this time slot with ideas that will change the university, revolutionize it in some cases. But it didn't take. Latin, Greek, and mathematics continued as the curriculum.